Okay, let's go over the review for the final exam. Number one, what are the zeros of this function? So zeros are the function, meaning whenever y, our output variable, is equal to 0. So that means when are we on our sea level line, our baseline, our x-axis. And you can see that that's here and here. So on your final exam, which is going to be multiple choice, fill in the bubbles on a Scantron form, what you're doing is checking all that applies. So we would say 1 is a 0 and 3 is a 0. And you need to make sure you mark both of those or else you won't get the points for it. The point for it. Okay, absolute value equations. So remember that an absolute value means always positive, which means that if I said the absolute value of x is 3, then that means x equals 3 or negative 3. Which means that whenever we have an absolute value equals to something, there's two possible solutions. Very much like a parabola when we moved on and we did the x squared. So that means I need to get the absolute value expression isolated by itself, and then I split it into two equations. So that means I divide the whole equation by 3. The 3's canceled out, and I have absolute value of x plus 4 equals 6. Which means that either x plus 4 equals 6 or x plus 4 equals negative 6. Because if x plus 4 equals negative 6, right, then you take the absolute value of that and get positive 6. So either x equals 2 or x equals negative 10. All right. Next one, we're seeing if we remember about exponents, how we work with them when we have the same base. So we have the 3 and the 3. Also, what does a negative exponent mean? So a negative exponent, you remember that x to the negative 1 means 1 over x. Okay? And so that means that x to the negative 2 means 1 over x squared, or 1 over x squared. I shouldn't say or, those are equal. So that means that this is equal to 3 to the negative 2 times 1 over 3 squared. And I'm separating this out just so you can see how we deal with the negative. The negative exponent only affects the thing that has the negative exponent. It doesn't do anything to the denominator. So this means that's 1 over 3 squared times 1 over 3 squared, which is 1 over 9 times 1 over 9, which is 1 over 81. Simplify 27 to the 4/3 plus 4 to the 3/2. So whenever we have a denominator in the exponent, this means the cube root of 27 to the 4th. Okay, so what we're looking for is, what is the cube root of 27? What times what times what equals 27? Well, the answer to that is 3. So the cube root of 27, this equals 3. So what we're saying is this is 3 to the 4th. Which is 81. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. Okay. So that's this part. So over here I'm going to say this is 3 plus, now we need to figure out what is 4 to the 3/2. Well, that's the square root of 4 to the 3rd. That's what a denominator means. Square root of 4 to the 3rd, that means square root of 4 is 2, so this is 2 to the 3rd, which is 8. So that means we're trying to say, what is 3 plus 8? The answer to that is 11. Simplify. Okay, two things at work here. One is, how do we apply an exponent to an expression, to a monomial? And the other is, how do we combine like terms? So, this is squared, so 3x cubed squared means 3x cubed times 3x cubed. This means 3 times 3 times x times x times x times x times x times x, right? Here's my x cubed, here's my x cubed, here's my 3 and my 3. So this means this is 9x to the 6th. And then we say minus x to the 8th plus 2x to the 6th plus 4x to the 5th. Well, you can see that this one combines only with that one because it's the same exponent. So our final answer is negative x to the 8th plus 11x to the 6th plus 4x to the 5th. A rectangular courtyard has a length of 15a plus 7 feet and a width of 12a feet. 15a plus 7 and a length of 12a, which represents the area of the garden in square feet. The courtyard. The courtyard. So the area is going to be this side times this side. So we're going to say this is 12a times 15a plus 7. So we have to distribute these. So 12 times 15. Let's see. My calculator was not quite in reach. I could try and figure that in my head. 6 times 30, 180, right? But I'm going to double check with my calculator. Yes, 180. 180. Now don't forget, this is a times a, which means this is a squared. Okay? And then 12 times 7 is 84. And then don't forget, because you're multiplying by 12a, it's also 84a. So, this is our final answer. That's the expression. It's not a number. It's an algebraic expression that represents it. A factory makes two kinds of chairs. So they make desk chairs, and that revenue is determined by this expression, 5x squared minus 7x minus 10. And they make dining room chairs that represented by this one. So we're supposed to write a polynomial that represents the total revenue. So we're totaling, we're adding this together. Okay, so we just are combining like terms here. 5 and 8 is 13x squared. I'm just crossing them off so I know I've taken care of them. Negative 7 and negative 2x gives me negative 9x. And negative 10 and negative 1 gives me negative 11. Factor 36x squared minus 1. So this is expecting you to recognize this as being a difference of squares. So this would be 6x minus 1 and 6x plus 1. And that's as straightforward and simple as I think I can make it. This is a perfect square. This is a perfect square. Perfect squares. And since they're subtracted, they work out like this. If we were to multiply these using our box method, 6 times 6, x times x, this is 36x squared, you can see that this is minus 6x and plus 6x, so that these minus 6x and plus 6x cancel out, and then we're left with negative 1 times positive 1 is negative 1. So that's why that works, is because these two terms in the corners cancel each other out. All right, next one, 4x plus 7 multiplied by 2x plus 9. Eight x squared plus 14x plus 4 times 9, 36x. 7 times 9 is 63. So I've got 8x squared plus 14x plus 36x plus 63. The ones that are combinable are these two, so we have 8x squared plus 50x plus 63. And that is our answer. Name the form of this quadratic. We have got 3 questions that are asking the 3 different forms of quadratic equations and how they help us graph. This is intercept form because we're given it in factored form, 2 binomials. This is using the zero product principle. We could use this to figure out when does y equal 0. So that would be -2 and +6. This is intercept form. And again, this is multiple choice, so you'll have these to choose from. So you'll just have to say this is intercept form, and this is standard form, and this is vertex form. So if these are things that you're not sure about, that's something to put on your note sheet, on your half sheet, is what does intercept form, standard form, and vertex form look like? Tell whether the graph of the quadratic function opens upward or downward, and why. All right, so all we're doing here is trying to figure out which direction. Does it look like this or like that? And the way we can tell that is our leading coefficient, a. So what is in front of the x squared? It's a negative. So because a is negative, it opens downward. That's what parabolas that look like this all have in common, is that they have a equals negative. We could also say a is less than 0. That would be another way of putting that. Compared to f of x equals x squared, describe the shape and position of the graph. G of x equals 2x squared minus 5. Now, you're going to be given a number of choices. What we're asking you to do is recognize what these different numbers do. So the minus 5, that shifts down by 5. Remember, in vertex form, the number inside the parentheses is going to shift it left or right, but the number outside, after we do the squaring, that shifts it up and down. So this shifts down by 5, and then we also have a equals 2. And so we're asking, do you understand how a affects? And the multiplication of 2 means that instead of going over 1 and up 1, we go over 1 and up 2. And instead of going over 2 and up 4, we go over 2 and up 8. So you can see that instead of a more gradual increase, it's going to be a steeper increase. So what happens is that the parabola, from going, this is normal, what it's doing is it's getting steeper. So we can see that this is not just, one side is not just steeper, but both sides are. So it means that it's narrower. What is the vertex of the quadratic function? F of x. So here is the function f of x. What's the vertex? Well, we see there. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -5, so this is -2. And then this is also below 0, 1, 2, 3. -3. All right, so the next is find the range of the function. So the range of the function is asking what are the values of y, all values of y. And you can see that y, in our y-axis, that this keeps going up and up and up. So our upper limit is infinity. Y is less than only infinity. Our lower limit, though, is here. There's no way to have a value lower than this. So that means our lower limit is here, -3, our y value. We can write it like this. It also equals negative 3, right? So you can also write it like this. You could say y is greater than or equal to negative 3. So these mean the same thing. Now, it says over what interval is this function decreasing? So decreasing means a negative slope. And you remember that negative slope is anything that's going down and to the left. So any line that looks like this has a negative slope. So we're looking for any part of this parabola where the slope is not going up to the right, but is going down to the right. So we're always asking as we keep moving from left to right, as if we're reading. We're going from negative to positive. What's happening to the vertical change? And you can see that as we move from left to right, it's going down, 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 until there. So an interval, what we're asking is where on the x-axis is. So this is the interval of x being greater than negative infinity, but less than negative 2. Or we could just say x is less than negative 2, when x is less than negative 2. This is the decreasing function, so don't let this arrow fool you. This doesn't mean that it's an increasing, because the slope here is negative, right? If we had drew a line, a straight line, it would look like that here. So this is still a negative slope. It's just, the arrow just means that it doesn't stop here. It will keep going. Okay. All right, there are the first 15 questions of your review, of your 30-question review. I would encourage you to identify which were the ones here that you weren't sure about or struggled on the most, and go over the Khan Academy assignments. There are a lot of them that are related to these, and they will help you practice those things. So stay tuned. You can see part 2 in a little bit when I upload that for the part 2 of this review.